Hi all. This is Future Editing Connie inserting a little disclaimer here at the beginning. I recorded part one of this swatching video before I hurt my back. So this was earlier in January, and you will hear me talking about, my video series about being more mindful of spending, using the supplies I have, which obviously if you've seen the video previous to this one, you'll know I kind of failed at that. But going forward, I think it still stands, but I just wanted to insert that. So yeah, you may hear me talk about things in here. Maybe the previous video was something different than it actually is, just because a lot of this footage was shot, like I say, earlier in January before I hurt my back. So I just wanted to insert that disclaimer, and that's it. On we go with the video. Hey everyone, this is Coloring Chemist. My name is Connie, and welcome back to my channel. So this is not top down as I normally am, but I will go top down in a sec with my camera. I have been doing a lot of swatching. I don't know, after the holidays, I always seem to get this urge to reorganize my supplies and just take another look at them, which kind of actually ties into the video series that I did there over the holidays, where I looked at everything that I purchased in 2023, and I really made the decision to try and be more mindful of purchases, and also to, use what I have. I'm just so very blessed and fortunate to have a wonderful array of supplies to hand. I need to use what I have. And so for me, swatching helps me to get to know my supplies again. Now, I do love swatching, and I know not everyone does, but it's very calming to me. I can do it and sort of not think. For those of you that aren't aware, I'm a chemistry teacher, and I'm very much, for as much as sort of that left brain, right brain thing is not, it's not true neuroscience, but I am very, very left brain. Logic, math, science, that's the way my brain works. So this creativity journey with coloring and maybe starting to do a little bit of art journaling, this is making my brain work in a whole new way. But that's the key, right? It's work. And I know art is work, but sometimes I don't want to. And swatching for me is a way to use the supply, reacquaint myself with the colors, with how the supply feels, without having to worry about choosing colors or shading or, that sort of thing. So these are the markers that I'm going to be swatching today. Now, I'm going to be swatching them on swatch cards. I do have a swatch book where all of these markers are swatched. And I also have little cards that I store in my marker rack. And I think I've shown those to you before on the channel, but when I go top down, I'll show you both the swatch in my book and the cards. But what I'm going to be doing today is swatching them on, they're called cards, but they're like swatch strips, and the color's going to go right to the edge. And the reason for that is it's easier for me to match colors when you can put one color right up against another color without sort of that white edge around it. And yeah, so that's just a new way I've been swatching. I've done a number of my pencil sets already. I can show you those as well. But I don't know, thought you guys might want to come swatch with me for a bit. There are a lot of markers. These are the Winsor Newton Promarkers and Promarker brush with a few Copics down there at the bottom. So we've got, I think, just over 200 markers to swatch. So let's go top down and let's get started with the swatching. All right, so here we are top down. This is the swatch book that I was talking about. You guys may have seen this before on my channel. I took a bit of a look through it. I have bound this using the ProClick punch, which I had a video about as well on my channel, which I will try and remember to link below. But instead of using the ProClick spine, I've been experimenting with using just the metal coil binding. Now, this isn't as handy as the ProClick spine, because the ProClick spine can open and close, which is great for a swatch book. I kind of felt that my swatch book was done. So
you know, I wasn't really planning on getting more supplies, although now I would like to reorganize it, so I don't know. Once you take these coil bindings off, because I now have to pry the metal coils apart, I don't know that I can put it back on. I might have to throw it away. And I did get a box of, there was like 50 in the box, so I do have extras, but I really hate to waste it like that, but we'll see. So in the swatch book, I do have a full swatch of all of the colors of the Promarker and the Promarker brush from Winsor Newton. Now, some of the markers will come in both. So the Promarker looks like this. This is the newer livery style, sticker style. And it will say Promarker. It will have a color number and name. The name is in a couple different languages there. And the Promarker has a pointed end, you can see, and like a small, kind of a bullet tip. And that's under the pointed end of the cap. The pointed end of the cap has a little, I don't know if you can see it there, like a little bump to stop it from rolling. And then the blunt end of the marker has a nice big chisel. So that's the Promarker. And then the Promarker brush, oh, I grabbed one. So this is an older livery, like an older sticker. It says brush marker. Where do I have? Nope, that's an older one too. Trying to find a brush one that I have that's got the newer livery on it. Sorry, I had to stop the video and it took me a while to find one. But that does go to show you. So there's the old livery and there's the new. These ones that have the old sticker on, right? It's the same. You can see on the pointed end, there's a nice brush. And then on the blunt end, there's a nice big chisel. Same thing. So this is the new livery, but you still got that nice brush and chisel. But it goes to show you how long these last. Alcohol, of course, evaporates fairly easily. So alcohol markers can be notorious for drying out. And, you know, for as much as everyone loves Copic, I've been having some real troubles lately with Copics, brand new Copics that I purchase, use to swatch, and then maybe use 1 or 2 times, and then they sit on the rack. You know, I don't use alcohol markers all the time. And I go to use them again, maybe 6 months later, and they're dry. So, yeah, I've been frustrated with that because Copic markers they're expensive. Now, these are not cheap either, but I've never had one of these dry out just from non-use. I've ran them out, you know, but I've never had one dry out. So some colors are available in both brush marker and Promarker lines. Particularly, well, like this one here. This is black, XB Black. Black is available both as a Promarker brush and also just a Promarker. If I have the choice, I prefer the brush. They're a little bit more expensive, but I just prefer coloring with a brush tip. Some colors are only available in brush, and some colors are only available in the non-brush, the Promarker. So these are all of the colors available. Not the neons. I believe there are a few neon colors. I don't have them. I don't tend to use neon colors, so I just didn't buy them. You can buy these in sets, but probably the most common way to purchase them is open stock. And that's what I would suggest if anyone is taking a look at getting into these markers. Go with open stock, right? They're not cheap, so you want to grab a few in, you know, maybe a trio, like a blending trio. So a light, medium, dark of a color that you would use often. Whenever I do that, I tend to go for greens because I color a lot of leaves and foliage and things, so I like to try out greens. And then just try them, see if you like them. I like the ink on these markers better than any other marker on the market, better than Copic. Now, the one drawback to these is they are not refillable. So once this marker runs out, right, it's done, you throw it away, and you have to get a new one. but they last a long time. The nibs don't fray. I've never had a nib fray on me. Now, granted, I'm not refilling and reusing, but yeah, they just seem to last a really long time. The ink also doesn't, and this is something I don't know if I can get it to show up on camera. So in addition to the swatch, the full page swatch that I have here in the swatch book, they've also got 6 metallics. They're all right. I wouldn't suggest getting their metallics. They're just not that metallic, quite frankly. I also have these cards that fit into that Spectrum Noir marker rack that I have all the markers in. And these are handy because they're right there. I don't have to pull up my swatch book. And they're just swatched sort of in color order. Yellows through oranges, reds, pinks, purples into blues, blues into greens, and then into sort of the earth tones. And that's really where I think these Promarkers shine. They have a ton of skin tones, earth tones, really muted, beautiful kind of tertiary colors. I don't know. I'm going to try and zoom down. Don't know if the camera will pick this up. I do have 12 Copics in my Promarker rack there. And I actually have more Copics than that. I don't have the full Copic set, but I have those 12 Copics, and they're right here, these 3 rows, because there was just some colors that didn't exist in the Promarker range, and I just thought these colors sort of they filled in nicely. So some really dark reds, some greens there, and some really dark browns. But the Copic ink, and I don't know if you can pick this up or not, sometimes will go down kind of speckly. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's really, I mean, I'm being pretty fussy here. But Copic ink can go down kind of speckly sometimes. I have never had that problem with Winsor Newton ink. Never. It goes down really smoothly, really evenly, and yeah, there's just a really wonderful variety of colors. So, come back out a bit here. Get these swatches out of the way. I have purchased these swatch cards from a tailored image, which is Stacy, grab my glasses here, Bledsoe on Etsy. And she has these in 2 different styles. One of the styles at the top of this card is kind of rounded, like an arch. And then this style is more squared off. I think the arch style is style 1 and this is style 2. And she sells these swatch cards either already filled in with names and color numbers for brands that she's done that for. Here's an example here. So here is for the Tombow 108 dual brush pens. It's already filled in with all of the color names and numbers. And she also sells blank ones, so you can fill in the color names and numbers yourself. And that's what I've done here for the Winsor Newton. She didn't have the Winsor Newton markers. That's okay. They're not really very common. I think they're used, you know what, I don't honestly know. Maybe artists use them more. I don't see a lot of colorists using them, which I totally get. I totally understand because they're not cheap, right? But I really like them. It was kind of the marker that I started with back when I started kind of coloring as an adult, and I just sort of stuck with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these markers out, and we'll sort of maybe talk about the colors as we go through. I'm going to tilt this. Sorry if that bothers anybody, but that's how I color. I can't, if it's this way, I don't know. I feel like my hand is at a weird angle. So it's going to be tilted. Sorry about that. And I'll try and remember to keep looking up. Maybe I'll come out a bit and make sure I'm on screen. So we can talk about the colors. I chose to do she's got different types of swatch cards. This is 6 to a card. And then what I'll do is, of course, cut these out once everything is colored. She's got the swatches that have 3 sections. Can you see that? Now, I don't think she meant this for what I'm going to use it for, but I'm going to use it for this. I would like to see, for example, Y919 Primrose, 1 coat, 2 coats, and 3 coats on the third. Because with alcohol markers, you know, like any kind of ink marker like that, you can get lighter or darker versions of the color of that marker just by putting down more coats, right? I am also going to color outside of the area that she's got. So she's got like a white line, or a white space, I should say, on either side. And, you know, you could cut on the outer edge of this. But I would like the color to go right to the edge. So what I do is I sort of keep inside the top and bottom line, go outside the 2 sides of the rectangle here. And then when I cut this out, I actually cut just inside this the rectangles, the swatch rectangles. So I'm cutting off one of the sides of the, well, both the sides actually, of this swatch card. But what it does is it gives me, these are some of the pencil ones that I've done already. So these are some Derwent swatches that I've been working on. This is the Light Fast. And so you can see what I've done is, so it doesn't have the rounded edge anymore, which, I mean, I could have rounded this off, I guess. But I have cut so that it's just inside the black line of the rectangle, so that color goes right to the edge. And I wanted that because I wanted to be able to lay it down next to something and have another color, you know, not necessarily within the swatch, but another color right next to it. So I have done my Derwent Light Fast. There's a few Pro Color pencils that I added here at the end. And then I also have the Derwent drawing pencils. I swatched those out already. What else did I swatch out? I think I swatched out Caran d'Ache Luminance 100. I swatched out all 180 Black Widows. And yeah, I know, I had all these things swatched out twice before. Once in my book, and they all have cards that go in the cases. But it was just, again, something I can do. It's relaxing. I like kind of reorganizing, relooking at things. And yeah, it refamiliarizes me with the supplies that I have. Now, I also had Polychromos from before. Now, the Polychromos swatches are different. These are from Color with Claire. So these swatch cards were from Color with Claire. So these are the cards from my Polychromos. Oh, sorry, I was off the screen there a bit. My Polychromos Plus case, which means that I also have in here some of the Holbeins, because of course, and some of the Lyra pencils, because there's the Holbeins that are in my Polychromos Plus case. Polychromos Plus case, I have extra pencils in there that fill out the color range that I felt was missing in Polychromos. These are swatch cards that I have for the Holbeins that are also from Color with Claire. She does them in Color Family. And Prisma. She also does those in Color Family. So these are the swatches I have done so far. They're all pencils. But now I'm going to start working on markers. So, sorry, we're already 15 minutes in. I'll try and put timestamps down below so people can jump ahead if they would like. So let's get started swatching. So the first color is Primrose. And I'm going to, and this may be sacrilege, I don't know. I was going to swatch with not the chisel end. We'll see how this goes. I might switch to the chisel end after a while. But these nibs that are on the Promarkers and the Promarker brush, they're really sturdy. I've never had problems with fraying, so I'm not too worried about sort of, wasting my nibs on swatching, but let's see. So I'm trying to do one layer. I know this is really light. And then 2 layers on second 2/3 of this. And then 3 layers. On the last. Now, we're going to let that dry. I don't know if on that color you can pick up, but I can actually see it's progressively getting more saturated. So that's what I'd like to do with all of them. So now we're on to soft lime. This is a brush one. Forgot I was supposed to be going over the edge there. So there's 1 layer. There's 2. And there's 3. So I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that wherever you are, the weather isn't... This is Buttercup. Hope the weather isn't too terrible. We've finally had some snow here. I keep forgetting I'm supposed to be going over the edge. Which is good. I know I was kind of sad there back in December that we hadn't gotten any snow. I really do love the snow, which is good considering where I live. I'm here in central Canada. And it was weird. It was a weird December for us. Normally in December, you know, it's cold. We've got snow. And it actually rained on Christmas Eve, which is bizarre for us. This is lemon. And then Christmas Day, we had freezing rain, which I'm not sure I might have had Christmases that had not a whole lot of snow. And I'm just trying to remember if I've ever had a green Christmas. Not completely green. There's always been like, you know, a little bit of snow. This was completely green and it rained. Never experienced that before. And there was freezing rain on Christmas. So as we were trying to leave my family's, we got together and had a Christmas dinner. It was quite the drive home, I have to say. It was like skating rinks out there. But we do have snow now. This is just yellow. We do have snow now, which is nice. Along with that has come some very cold weather. And last couple nights it's been down to minus 30. That's Celsius, which is at minus 40 Celsius and Fahrenheit come together. So it's still pretty cold in Fahrenheit there too. And then the wind chill makes it feel colder. But it's not as cold as it's been in other parts of Canada. They've had wind chills down in the minus 50 range. Now that it's drying, I'm not sure how much difference it's making in terms of the 1, 2, 3. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this all for naught, but well. This is Canary. You can see though that they go down lovely and smooth. A little bit of black there. I'm not sure if that's I have a laser printer, so these are laser printed. But I'm hoping the markers aren't picking up the laser ink. They don't seem to be on the whole. But yes, so it's been cold. We don't have a whole lot of snow, less than I think we normally have for this time of year. And for those of you who have seen some of my other videos, I have the bird feeders right outside my window here. And we recently have gotten an influx, or they call it, technical birding term is called an eruption. Not ER as in volcano, but IRR, eruption, of pine siskins. And they're tiny little finches. This is tulip yellow. Tiny little finches that normally would be much further north, but every couple, and it's not really something you can plan. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but they will head further south in search of food. And I have a flock here. There's got to be 100 of them. I mean, I love birds, but it's almost, you get that Alfred Hitchcock Birds feeling sometimes when you're out there. There's just a lot of them. But they're very tiny. They're very cute. Most of the birds I get here do tend to be finches of some kind or another. And we have goldfinches in the summertime. They are supposed to be here in the winter as well. I just don't see them. I think maybe it's just too cold. I don't know. But evening grosbeaks, pine grosbeaks, those are all finches. This is sunflower. So now you can see we're getting into sort of the orangier yellows. Yeah, evening grosbeaks, pine grosbeaks, and then these little pine siskins. Red poles are another little finch that will come. I was getting sparrows earlier, but they seem to have moved on somewhere else. Maybe it's just too cold for them now. And then I get the traditional sort of typical, you get some crows out there and ravens and blue jays, Canada blue jay. I get Canada gray jays. This is mustard. And the chickadees. I love the little chickadees. I also have a number of woodpeckers. So I provide some suet feeders out there for them. Some seed wreaths you can buy, which is basically just bird seed kind of pressed into a mold, and then I'm not sure what it's all stuck together with, but they're quite hard, and so the woodpeckers like pecking at those. This mustard is a really nice color. It's a deeper yellow without being too orange. I know it looks orangier on the screen than it does to me in real life. That's always kind of the trouble, isn't it? This is called pastel yellow. There are definitely some really nice. There's some colors I think in this range that, or in this, yeah, in the Promarker and brush marker range that I wouldn't. When I was buying these originally, I did have full set syndrome. And so I do have, I think, every color they offer. But there's a number of colors, and I have bought, open stock backups or open stock markers of colors as they've run out. There are colors that I just won't, because, and they just sit on the rack, and some of them have been there, I'm thinking like at least 5 years. And we'll see. I guess as I'm going through them here, we will see if they are dried out. But they don't seem to. The caps, like, you do have to, and if you have hand trouble, what you can do to get caps like this off, because there's not much there to grip, right? They're quite slidey. And where did I get this? Jennifer Stay, Coloring Bliss. Get a balloon, like a non-blown up balloon, and just have it with, in your drawer, wherever near to where you're coloring, and you can use that to grab the caps and pull them off. it just gives you that little bit of grip, right? But the caps are on there quite well. And I think maybe that's why there's, you know, I don't seem to have any trouble with drying out. So this is called Vanilla. Now you're seeing a bit more of that orange come through. Winsor Newton had, last year, maybe the year before, I want to say 2022. They'd come out with 16 new colors. Yeah, I think it was 16. And they were skin tone colors. And I think, I could be wrong on this though, I think you can buy those colors as a set. So if you're just looking for skin tones, I'll look and I'll see if I can find it. If they do sell them as a set, I'll try and link it below. And I'll try and link to some different places where you can purchase these as well if you're interested. But I don't tend to color people. It's just not my thing. So I'm much more of a landscape colorist. But yeah, they came out with a set of 16 and it was skin tones. This was actually, I think, was vanilla one of them? I'm pretty sure this was one of them. This is lemon chiffon. And I just sort of worked them into the markers that I already had. So the order that I'm doing this in, I think this is an order that I came up with. So this isn't, because these are all handwritten. I wrote all these names and numbers in. This isn't, I don't think, an order that is on any of the official charts.
Future editing Connie here again. Yes, it is the order that's on the official chart. I was wrong about that.
So my order, ever since I started sort of swatching and you know, learning about putting things in color order, I think I tend to always use the order that Faber-Castell used. So when you get your full set of Faber-Castell pencils, they tend to go, you know, sort of this yellow and sort of dark to light within each. So you can see we started with light yellow and then we got darker and then it's kind of moving into the orange yellows and then oranges and then reds, right? That color order I was showing you earlier. That's kind of the order that I've always now put things in.
Which is also the colors on the color wheel, which I learned because of the wonderful Jennifer Stay. So yeah, that's also the part of the explanation of the color order.
I don't know if I'm good at it. So certainly, you know, looking at this, maybe some of you would be thinking, oh, I would have put, you know, that marker in a different place. And that's entirely possible. My eye for color is not the greatest. This is called Oatmeal. But I do what I can. And so when the new colors came out, I just sort of worked them into the color order that I had. I think if you look on Winsor Newton's website, they've still got them separately instead of worked into their color order. That's a strange color for oatmeal, don't you think? Not the color of any oatmeal I've ever eaten, but my oatmeal is much beigier than that. It's almost like a peach color, this one. This is called Pale Cream. Again, why, you know, I had oatmeal before Pale Cream. I'm sure I originally had a reason. I don't honestly remember what it is now.
The reason, of course, is because this is the order that Winsor Newton actually does have them in when you download their color charts, which I totally forgot as I was apparently recording this video. So I do apologize. I probably make many silly comments like that during the video. I apologize. So this is definitely the order that Winsor Newton has them in when you download their color charts off their website. when you look at their color order of the markers on their page where you're purchasing the markers, they do still have that skin tone set sort of listed at the beginning, not worked into the color order. But when you download their charts, it is worked in. So this is the color order Winsor Newton has.
Maybe I felt that pale cream was more orangey. Oatmeal still had a tinge of yellow. I don't honestly know. These do smell. You know, they've got that alcohol marker smell. I wouldn't say they're, you know, it's not like you're working with a Sharpie. It's pretty much like you're working with a Copic in terms of smell. You know, they've just got that alcohol marker smell. This is saffron. What I also did was, because these are alcohol markers, they're not light fast, right? The ink that's coming out. And since these are going to be, I mean, they'll be hanging on my wall, well, like you saw the ones before. I mean, they're not, it's not like I have a sheet that's just out being exposed to the sunlight all the time. They're sort of going to be hanging one in front of the other, and then I'll put a cover on the front. But they probably will fade. So what I did, because handwriting all of these names and numbers took a long time. So once they were all written out, I scanned these pages in. I have a printer that also functions as a scanner. So I scanned them in as PDFs, just blank, so that, you know, if they do fade and I do need to redo these, I won't have to rewrite the names and numbers. So I did that. This one is bisque. There's not quite the number of colors that Copic has. Copic has, is it 300 and some colors? This one, I think with maybe with the metallics and with the neon colors, is there 205 maybe? But like I say, I don't have the neon colors. I just don't tend to use neon, really neon anything, whether it be pencils. By the way, if anyone's watching me really carefully and I do happen to forget and go back and do a second or third coat on anything, you can certainly let me know in the comments. I'm trying to focus, but this is apricot. Yeah, with neon markers, I can't see me ever using neon markers. I know lots of folks will use neon pencils, colored pencils, pencil crayons, to provide, you know, they'll use them for a blending kind of thing. So kind of like almost like a little pop of color. I've been interested in that kind of technique, but I can't see using neon markers. So, you know, I said I had full set syndrome, but I guess I don't technically have a full set, do I? I don't have the neons. And of course, if you're just joining me now, I am going outside the lines on the edges because I am going to cut that off, although I'm noticing sometimes, particularly with the brush, I'm going a little bit outside the lines, maybe above or below. That's okay. Gives me some practice using the brush tip. This is called honeycomb. I have a little bit more control with this bullet tip, which, I mean, I think everybody finds that, right? The brush tip on these compared to Copic, I would say Copic is a little stiffer. So the brush tip on these can be tough to get used to in terms of control, particularly for very small areas. This isn't a super small area, but it's not super big either. Oops. This one's called Gold. You can see that there's a fair number more of the Promarker, the ones with the bullet tip, than there is brush tip. And I mean, I think that's probably a function of just the cost of the tips, right? The brush tip markers are probably more expensive to make, and maybe people are less likely to purchase them. They're more likely to buy the bullet tip ones, these Promarkers. They're not terribly squeaky. I mean, you can probably hear me swatching them, but I have the Spectrum Noir markers. They're super squeaky. I don't know why like they're so squeaky, but these ones are less so. This is called Amber. That's a pretty color. I know I'm trying to only do, I know sometimes I go back over strokes in areas where I shouldn't, but trying to get that 1, 2, 3 swatch. This one's called Pumpkin. Some of these I have not used in a long time, and so far I haven't run across any dry ones. Cross our fingers, knock on wood. But like I say, there's quite a snap to that cap. This one's called Mandarin. I like the amber and the pumpkin, and that gold is nice too. This one's a very orangey orange. Since I've had these for such a long time, and I used to color with these a lot. I used to do a lot of color by number and just sort of matching the colors on the color keys with these markers. I just kind of really got to know the different colors that are in this set. I know that's kind of, guys are probably thinking those are really expensive markers to use color by number. I know, but they made me happy, right? I just really enjoyed it. This one's called Bright Orange. And these all do have color numbers as well. I'm just not bothering to, I've written them on here, but I'm just telling you the color names. And the first coloring channel that I ever discovered on YouTube was Jennifer Stay, Coloring Bliss. And she has that wonderful system where she's got blending trios, or tritones she calls them. And she and Steve have put together tritone sets for, so many different supplies. But I don't think they've ever done these. So I put together my own. And I can certainly list them in the comment or in the description section below. I can list the 36 colors that I put together for tritones. So, I mean, that might give you, if you were looking at purchasing some open stock, you could pick a couple of the tritones. So get maybe 3 or maybe 6 markers. I can't guarantee you they're professionally put together. So, please don't blame me if you look at them and think, well, Connie, that doesn't blend. I'm sorry. I did the best I could. This one's just called Orange. But, yeah, you could
you could purchase them open stock and see what you think. To me, this is I mean, colors are colors, right? They're calling this just plain orange. That's a very red orange. If I was trying to say what I thought just straight orange would look like, it would actually probably be more like that bright orange above it. But that's okay. Almost done the first page here. This is going to be a long video, and it's just sort of me chatting with you while I swatch these markers. So I don't know if people are going to like this or not. I guess we'll see. This one's called Mango. Trick is going to be for me to think of things to talk to you about for all this time. I'm very much an introvert. In fact, I'm probably one of the most introverted people you will ever know. People and groups of people and crowds exhaust me, just exhaust me. So as a teacher, I'm used to talking, but not chit-chatting, you know? I'm used to teaching. And so, I mean, I guess I could tell you about science things as I swatch. I don't know how much anybody would like that. This one's called Peach. But, yeah, as an introvert, I'm not a... Small talk or chit-chatting is not a strong point of mine. It's not something that I would do normally. That's a nice peach color. I don't know if the color above it, they called it mango. Is that the color of mangoes? I don't know. Mind you, is this the color peaches? Not really. That's okay. Color names don't have to be what they are in real life, do they? This one's called Ginger. There are a number of colors that, you know, one can be very close to another. Which is why when you get larger sets, you know, often you might look at some of the colors and think, well, you know, what's the point in having, for example, it's Primrose and Soft Lime. They're pretty close, right? The Vanilla, Lemon Chiffon, pretty close. There are some differences I can see looking at them, you know, in real life. Maybe the camera doesn't... Oh, no, I've forgotten what I've done. That was just one layer with a ginger, right? I think it was. There are some differences I can see. The feeling maybe that wasn't just one layer. Oh, well. It'll still give us the general impression of the color. So, unless you are, you know, really looking for the full set, or you want a set of markers where you've got, you know, those infinitesimal? Did I say that right? Gradations of color, you know, you wouldn't need all these colors. This is called Soft Peach. They do have some really lovely muted grayed out colors in this set, which I sometimes find can be missing from some of the budget sets. I don't know if those colors are maybe more expensive to make. There's not so many grayed out colors that we've seen yet so far here.
But there's some really, like the pale cream and the bisque. I mean, those are really nice colors. I wouldn't call them grayed out, but I'm thinking when I get into the blues and lavenders and things. This one's called Pink Camellia. Even some of the pinks, there's some really nice, and I'll comment on them when we get there. Just some really nice, yeah, just grayed out vintage kind of looking colors, which I really love. And maybe that's also what drew me, I mean, partly what drew me to these was I started with open stock. I certainly didn't purchase, you know, all of them all at once. But open stock supplies more and more, I know they're usually more expensive. In fact, they're almost always more expensive. This one's called Sun-Kissed Pink. This is a favorite color of mine. This is one of those kind of vintagey, grayed out kind of colors. See that? It's like a vintage pink color. Hopefully it comes through on camera. It doesn't look too bright. But I do find a lot of the budget sets of markers and supplies and that sort of thing, there's a lot of bright colors. And because of that, sorry, this is leading back to what I was saying about open stock. Because of that, I find that, you know, because I've looked at those big sets of Ohuhu, but I just look at the color range and I think there's so many colors in there that I wouldn't use. Isn't that pretty? I like that Sun-Kissed Pink. All right, so there is page 1. On to page 2. There's just so many of the brighter colors that I wouldn't use, and I feel like I would be using up. This is called Lipstick Red. The colors that I would use up, and then now Ohuhu I know is starting to have some open stock and some refills. But back when I started sort of, you know, with this alcohol marker kind of journey, they didn't, and they certainly didn't have the big sets they have now. And I don't know, I just kind of thought, what will I do if I run out of the, you know, the dozen or 2 dozen colors that I really love? Do I have to buy another big set? So yeah, the idea of open stock really appealed to me. This is called Ruby. Now, having said that, did I buy the whole set of these? Yes, I did. So did I buy some colors that I probably aren't going to use very much? Yes, I did. Do I regret that now? Kind of. There's a part of me that likes having the whole set, but the open stock nature also means that when I run out of colors that I use a lot, I can just buy that one color. So, particularly in the greens, and when we get to them, I'll show you. There's a green that I bought, gosh, I don't know how many open stock replacements for. This is just called Red. So, I suppose there's benefits, there's pros and cons to, you know, approaching your supplies from different ways. And I know I am very fortunate and blessed to be able to have these supplies that are more expensive and, you know, are certainly not what I would never put these in the budget category. And I also started buying these, when did I? It was like 2016, 2017. This is called Poppy. And they were not as expensive as they are now. I think back then I could get an open stock marker, one of these, for pretty sure it was under $5. And I think open stock now the brush markers for sure. Unless you can, Dick Blick has them for cheaper. But I mean, sometimes you're looking at $7, $8, $9, $10 per marker. That's crazy. So I don't know, if I was starting now, would I be able to, you know, gather up the whole set, color range of these? I don't know. I like this poppy color. The other reds are fun too, but this poppy color is, it seems, and again, my eye for color isn't great. This seems like sort of, I know this one is called red, but to me this seems like more a true red. This is a bit of a darker red. And the lipstick red looks maybe a bit too orangey. So this poppy, kind of what I see as a true red, but I could be wrong. This is called berry red. So yeah, that idea of looking at supplies that are artist grade, even though, you know, it's quote unquote just in coloring books, might in the end, I don't know if it'll be a savings, I don't know. But if you're like me and you tend to just focus on and use a handful of colors, those bigger budget sets, you have to buy a whole new set to replace the colors you want. So I don't know. Is that, what do they call that? False economy, maybe? I don't know. You know, you'd have to compare, this is called Crimson. You'd have to compare the prices for, you know, however many open stock of the supply you were looking at, how much that would cost versus how much you'd pay for a set of the more budget supply. So, ooh, getting crazier, going out of lines. Might even have to break this video into two, because we've been going for, what is it, 53 minutes now? No, more than that, because there was a little intro at the beginning. There's a lot of markers to swatch, so we'll see. Might have to do a couple parts. If I take a break too, then I'll think of more things to chit-chat about. This is called Cardinal Red. Oh, cardinals. Okay, that's not the color of a cardinal, not that I've seen. But they might be talking about cardinal as in, I'm not sure what they're talking about. We don't have cardinals here. We're too far north, which is funny because they're called northern cardinals, but they don't mean this far north. Oh, I think I don't know, squeal with happiness if a cardinal showed up at my bird feeder. I do get those pine grosbeaks, which I think I showed in a previous video, and they are red, but not red like a cardinal. They're more a pinky red, and they're very pretty with gray and black, but yeah, I mean, a cardinal would just be, ugh. Now this is called Antique Pink, and if I remember correctly, I wasn't as impressed. You think this would be like a vintagey color, but I don't. Let's see. Let's take a look. Yeah. Still like that sun-kissed pink better. If you search online for, particularly I think on Pinterest, although not that I'm on Pinterest very much, color combos with Winsor Newton markers, I think there's folks out there who are much more knowledgeable than I am in color theory who have put together color combos for these markers. I should say I'm doing this on, this is Accent Opaque, I think it's called, mixed, well, it's not called mixed media, Accent Opaque cardstock. So there's not a whole lot of bleeding, you know, outside the lines. It obviously does go through because it's alcohol marker, which is why I have a sort of blotter page underneath. This is called Hot Pink.
That is a pretty hot pink color. This is one of those colors that I just would not use. So I probably purchased this at least 5 years ago. It's got the old livery. I've maybe used it a couple times to swatch. I can't ever remember using this to color anything. And it's lovely. It's juicy. It's not dried out. So yeah, there you go. It's just sat on that rack. It's not been, sealed up in anything. And that's how it comes out. So I very much like these markers. This is called Magenta. I use this one a lot. This is not my original. I'm sure this is on my second or third. Just funny. I said I didn't really like bright colors, but there's something about this magenta color that I just really like. I don't know if you can see that tip flexing my color. So it's flexible, but I mean, it's not floppy. But I think it is more flexible than a Copic brush tip. It's called Mulberry. This is another color that I'm sure I used just to swatch a couple times, and then that's it. And yeah, not dried out. So for those of you who like markers with bright colors, there are some definitely bright colors in here. I know to do the layers, I should probably be letting each layer dry first before going back over. I think that's what I did with the ginger back here. Did it give it better? Maybe. Oh well. Next we've got maroon. So we've gone through the reds, and there's a nice selection of reds there. And then some pinks. There are some pinks later on too. Pinks are a tough color, aren't they? I think I tried to put the various pinks, if they leaned more purple pink, then I put them in with the purples. If they were more yellowy pink, then they kind of went in with, like we've got some colors that were up in here, like this sun-kissed pink. I sort of tried to do that. So these few pinks here were sort of like the, I don't know what you'd call them, the pink pinks, if that makes sense. This is cerise. That's bright. Again, this is one of those colors where I'm sure I used it to swatch, and that was it. And yeah, here's a brush tip, and it's not dried out. It's not neon. It's not labeled as neon, but that almost looks neon, doesn't it? This is carmine. I always thought carmine as a pigment was, Carmine Lake, I guess, is a pigment. I always thought it was redder than that. Those are some bright pinks, man. Then we've got salmon pink. Again, thinking I probably should have had this back with the orangey. I don't know. Like I say, my sense of color is not great. could have had this one back with some of those peachier colors.
Let's see. Here's the salmon pink. I don't know. Would that have fit with those? It's funny, you look at this on its own compared to these, and it looks very... Well, I mean, it is orangey, but I don't know that it would fit with these either. Like, that seems... So maybe I was onto something putting it there. Hard to say. This one's called Misty Rose.
I do remember trying and spending a lot of time looking at colors and thinking, you know, where would this fit? So, who knows? I envy those of you that have sort of that, and maybe there is not just I can't even talk. No such thing as a natural artist's eye. I don't know. Maybe you have to develop it. I just haven't done that. But some people have a really good natural sense of color. I tend not to, which is why I wear a lot of gray or beige. This is called Cocktail Pink. I'm really a fan of that color. It's okay. So we are midway through January. Well, actually, this is January... When am I filming this? January 19th? 18th? 18th. And
I hadn't gotten very much coloring done in December. Although some. And I was hoping to get more done in January, but this is called Dusky Rose. I haven't. I mean, I've been working on this swatching project, which, I mean, takes time. I like this color. This is one of those grayed out, vintagey. Yeah, see, if I was going to choose between this and this antique pink, yeah, I'd go for the Dusky Rose. Yeah, so I'd hope to get more coloring done in January, and I've gotten some, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a slump. Coloring slump? I don't know. Like I say, I sort of get this urge after the holidays to reorganize and yeah, so maybe this swatching project has taken more time than I thought, or maybe this is just what I feel like doing right now. And I thought, well, that's okay, right? The hobby should be, that's exactly it. It's a hobby, and it should, this is pastel pink. It should, make us happy, relax us. So I might not have very many finished pages for my January finished pages video, but that's okay. I am working on the next pigment video, which would be ancient pigments. But those videos do take a long time to put together and just research and make sure I'm not saying silly things or things that are untrue. So I will hopefully have that out sometime this spring. I know lots of you said that you liked those kinds of videos, so if there's any other kinds of videos, I know people have given me some suggestions and I have noted them down. But if there's any other kind of videos that anyone would like to see, that this is baby pink. R228. Oh, I guess it's also called light pink. They've changed a few of these names. So R228, I've got light pink written down, and this is called, so maybe the new name for it is light pink. Yeah, any kinds of videos you guys would like to see? I've got a few more collection videos that I can do. There's been 1 or 2 requests for some flip-throughs.
quite a number of requests for color alongs or, I don't know, I hesitate to call them tutorials because I'm not sure I know what I'm doing, with pit pens, coloring with Faber-Castell pit pens, or the Stettler pigment markers. So I can certainly do more of those. Like I say, I just haven't been in the, I've been in the coloring mood, but this kind of coloring. So this is called Pale Pink. This is a nice color. It's not so much grayed out. This one is going a little bit dry, but I use this a lot. Not so much grayed out as it just is a really nice pale with not too much sort of... Sometimes I find that, again, with those more budget sets, to get pale colors, they'll take a really bright color and just water it down. It's not water they're using, but they'll just put more alcohol in with the dye to get a paler color. But you still get that really weird brightness to it, even though it's pale. Do you know what I mean? But I find that, yeah, like that's just a super nice pale pink that doesn't have that weird watered down brightness to it, if that makes sense. This is called Pale Blossom. I really like this color too. Might not even be able to barely see that color. It is very pale. There's another color they have just called Blossom. Not sure if it's on this page. Might be on the next page. And yeah, if I remember correctly, that's a nice color too. But yeah, I like, you know, even this light pink. It's lighter, but it has almost a bit of that not pastel, it's the wrong word, brightness to it. Whereas these, well, they're more subdued, right? They're more, not necessarily even grayed out, subdued. I guess that's a good word. This is called Linen. So this is a pink, but maybe a bit more peachy. Again, not sure why I didn't put it with the other peachy colors. Maybe because of the undertones that I thought I saw there. To cut apart the individual strips here, I was using I have a paper cutter, but I was finding it was hard to, because I want to cut just inside that line. Right? Not the outer line, but that line, just inside. So I want to keep as much of the color here as I can, but I want to get rid of that line so the color goes all the way to the edge. And I don't know, I was finding using the paper cutter, like I have one of those Fiskars ones with the roller cutter on it. It was too hard to control. So, that's my phone. I'm going to silence that, sorry. So I actually have been freehand cutting it, which sometimes gives me a bit of a wonky edge, but I don't know, I've been getting better at it as I do it. This is called Pink Carnation. See, this is one of those paler colors that has that brightness to it. Now, you know what? It could be a personal preference thing too, right? I'm not drawn to bright colors, and so I probably, again, this is another one of those colors where I probably swatched it a few times and that was about it. I don't think I've used this for anything. It's certainly pale, but it's got that brightness to it that, yeah, just doesn't appeal to me. The pale pink and the pale blossom more so. But you know what? Each to his own. I have used this pink for a fair amount, and I'm pretty sure this isn't my original.
This could be a replacement. This one might be going a little bit dry too. We'll see here in a sec. This is called Rose Pink. It's a pink, but it's not so neon-y. Is that a word? And it's not super pale, but I just find it a really pretty pink. It doesn't, compared to say that one, that's I mean, that's pink. It's neon-y. The carmine to me looks neat. These are kind of these neon kind of colors, which, you know what, the lighting here isn't great. It's actually not nighttime right now, but it's overcast, so hopefully the lighting is okay. But this rose pink is just, I find it goes really well with like the pale blossom. This one's called Blossom. Sorry, you guys probably saw that before I did. So there's Pale Blossom. Yeah, that's a really pretty color too. Almost maybe a bit of violet in it. Maybe. Almost leaning a bit purple. I could be way off on that. But it's just a very, very pretty color. Yeah, I do like that one. This one is Fuchsia Pink. Again, if I remember correctly, probably a color that I used to swatch a couple times and that's it. It's pretty bright. Well, I mean, yes and no. I don't know, maybe I'm using the word bright not as a art person would use it. Not intense. I don't know. It seems very bright. That's just a word that comes to mind. Not as bright as some of the others that we were looking at, but maybe I'm using bright to mean not vintagey, not grayed out. Maybe that's the wrong usage of it. But this is Orchid. Now, this one, if I remember correctly, so let's take a look at the color of the sticker, versus the color that we're seeing. Obviously, you're not going to get a good match, right? You can't. And these also have color numbers and then a color sticker on the end, which is nice because then when they're in, like that Spectrum Noir marker rack, it's not just black caps that you can see, it's little stickers. But is this sticker color going to match the ink color? They try, right? I mean, but with alcohol markers, and that's why I think it's important to swatch out any kind of markers, whether they be alcohol markers, water-based markers, because you can't really look at, any of the labeling to get a good sense of the color. And sometimes you can't even get a good sense of the color from the, just from looking at the tip. Sometimes it comes out different. If I remember correctly, no, maybe it's not this one. Maybe it was Wild Orchid. There's one of the colors in here where I was looking at when I first got it, looking at the label and looking at it, and then when I put it, pen to paper, marker to paper, the color came out completely differently than I thought it would, so. Oh no, this is pretty. Maybe it wasn't. I think it's the one called Wild Orchid. That's not a bad color. I have my favorites because I have been using these for a while, and this hasn't been one of them, but maybe I need to use this one a bit more. This is lavender. I do like this one. On screen? Yeah. So this is one of those grayed out colors. I don't know if the sound of the markers ASMR or if it's driving you nuts. Yeah, I do like that. And then we've got lilac next to it. The bullet tips make much more noise than the brush tips do. I like that lilac color too. The lilac leans a little bit more blue than the lavender does. So there's page 2. So we have page 1 and page 2. Shall we go on to page 3? Why not? You can always pause this if you're getting really tired of watching me swatch. So this is Bluebell. If I remember correctly, I like this color. There's another one. Cornflower is the next one. I like that one too. Very violet colors. Or blue violet, I guess, maybe. And I was thinking that, like on Color with Claire, when she has her her color swatch cards that she puts out, she will put like one color family per card. So each card isn't necessarily filled, right? There's maybe, you know, if there's only, say, 3 or 4 colors in a particular color family in a set, that's all she'd have in the card. And I thought about doing that here, but there were so many of these markers, I just thought, well, I'm just going to just sort of keep doing this continuously. So obviously, you know, say that column there, that's not all one color family. I'm just, you know, keeping going. But I think as long as I keep that in mind, it'll be okay. So this is Cornflower. So this is bluer than the Bluebell, but I think still in the same color family. That's a pretty color. That's a wintry looking color to me. The Bluebell is too, but that grayed violety blue color, often the end of the day, the snow will kind of look that color just from reflections from the sky, or, you know. Yeah, I do like that color. Very pretty. Cornflower. This is Blue Pearl. This is brighter, less grayed out. Still a pretty color. I think I tend to be drawn more towards cooler colors than warmer colors. So you'll probably hear me talk about, you know, this is a pretty color, that's a pretty color, much more often now that we're moving into the blues and greens. There were a few pinks there that were nice, but they were more the grayed out ones. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just drawn to... I really like landscapes. You know, that's maybe why. Landscapes have the warmer colors, right? I mean, there's... Or pardon me, the cooler colors. There's warmer colors in landscapes too, but... This is Plum. It's not a color I would reach for. But it's a very rich color. This one's called Amethyst. Like this. This is an actual amethyst. This is a chunk of amethyst that I got from my grandfather when I was a little kid. He worked in an iron ore mine, and yeah, they used to, iron ore tends to occur with amethyst, and they would pull up chunks and chunks of this, and it was trash. It was garbage, right? There's no use for it, so he brought me home this little chunk of it. So this is their version of amethyst. I don't think it's the same color as my amethyst, but it's a nice color. If I had to choose between this and the one above it, plum, I think I'd choose this one. It's amethyst color. This one's just called purple. That's a very... Oh. If I was thinking about purple, that's not the color I would think of. It almost has a neon-y look to it. Yeah, this is not, like I say, I probably bought this, swatched it a few times, and probably didn't use it for much else. Here's this wild orchid. So here's the color. So here's the sticker. Can you see how much different that is than the sticker? And if I put it to paper, that is nothing like the sticker. So I'm not sure why I put it here. Not a color I would ever use. This is really, though, the only one where I remember swatching it originally when I first got these and thinking, whoa, that is nothing like the, right? That's not even close. But the rest of them are close-ish to the sticker color. This is Pink Pearl. I don't mind that color. This next one is Aubergine. I think this is the darkest purple they have. Well, no. They do have a color that I've got down with all of the, kind of the neutrals at the end there. Well, not neutrals, but like the earth tones and stuff, called slate, I think it's called, or shale, one or the other. And it's got a purple tinge to it, and I think it's darker than this. But in terms of, oh, sorry, third one. You know, colors that I have in with the purples, I think this is the darkest. It's a nice dark purple. This one's called Prussian Blue. Well, actually, it's just called Prussian, and then Bleu de Prusse is the French. So, but the English name is just Prussian. And I'm not that familiar with paints, you know, watercolor paints or anything, to say, you know, this really does look like Prussian blue. It is Winsor Newton. You'd think that they wouldn't be too far off, but again, inks and pigments, and I do have a video about that, or dyes versus pigments, I should say, are going to, there's a difference, right? There's a difference in the chemistry, there's a difference in how they react with the substrate that you're putting them on, the paper. So yeah, Prussian blue paint may look different than Prussian blue ink. This is indigo blue, so this one's pretty dark. That's a nice color. It's very midnight sky. Well, not well, depending on, I guess. We think of the midnight sky being black, which it is, but it can kind of have a blue tinge to it as well. But I like that color. This is royal blue. It's a very blue, if that makes sense. So for a while there, we were into the blue, purples, and although why I put these blue violets before the purples, I don't know. I don't know. I think I did this color order a long time ago and then just never changed it. I probably should have updated it. So this is violet. Which is actually quite blue. I mean, there's some purple in there too, I guess. It's harder to cover the area with the small tip. And I'm trying to not leave white spaces, but I'm also trying not to, because I want to do that 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer thing. So I don't want to do, you know, too many overlapping layers on the part that's only supposed to have 1 layer. Hopefully I'm doing okay. I don't know if there's any point in doing this. Oops. Gives me practice, I guess. Sort of controlling the marker. This is cobalt blue. You're probably thinking you'd cover this faster with the chisel end, Connie. Yeah, I would. I don't like using chisel ends. I don't know why. I just don't. I think it's something to do with the angle and the angle I hold my hand at. I don't know, they never seem to give me good coverage. Here we've got, I never, azure, not sure. Not sure where the accent should go. Very nice kind of tropical oceany blue. I mean, it's very bright, I guess, but I remember when I first started using these and I didn't have a full set. I remember thinking this one was the darkest blue they had. This is Egyptian blue. But that's when I only had some of these. And it is a nice dark blue, but I don't think it's the darkest blue they have. I think the indigo that we already swatched is a pretty dark blue. Slightly different tone, I think, to the color. Or, yeah, the indigo has got a little bit more like violet to it. But I do like this Egyptian blue. But they also have a midnight blue, which I didn't get until, like I say, when I first started coloring with these markers, I didn't have them all. So this is just called True Blue. Well, that's definitely a true blue. Mr. Coloring Chemist really likes blue. That's his favorite color. And anytime I color anything, he's very supportive no matter what I color. But if I color mandalas or mandalas that are predominantly blue, those will always be his favorite. Oh, I really like that one. Whereas I think green is probably my favorite color. So that's true blue. I do like this French navy. That's the next one. This wasn't a color I got until, kind of later. Yeah. I don't know, it's just, there's a complexity to that color. And again, I'm not sure if all of this is coming through on camera or not. I hope it is. So it's not a true blue. Maybe there's a hint of green in there. But I think there's also, it's been grayed out a bit, maybe? I don't know. I just really, really like that color. French navy. So here's the midnight blue. And I think this is the darkest blue they have. I think. They also have something called storm cloud, but it's more gray. We'll see here in a sec. So this is midnight blue. And it's green. Yep. Although, I mean, this is a kind of a grayed out color as well. I think it. So maybe we've got a choice of, and I think, they've probably done that on purpose. They've got almost 200 colors. We've got a choice of, do you want a dark indigo that's more purpley? Do you want this is more of a dark true blue? This is more of a dark gray blue? I just like their color selection. Again, there's a few colors, Wild Orchid, I will never use. So, yeah, did I need to buy it? No, but I did. This one's Storm Cloud. So you can see it's more gray. In fact, I'm not sure how much blue is actually in there. I mean, it's BG05, so I'm assuming they meant it was blue-gray. But, some other layers in here. We'll see if the blue comes through. I really like kind of the colors we're getting into now, which is more the blue greens. They've got some really nice blue greens. Maybe not quite yet. Well, this is sky blue, so this isn't. But cyan, Aegean, cool aqua. There's some pretty colors there. This sky blue is nice. It's a nice kind of mid-tone blue. I don't think it leans one way or the other. This one is cyan. This one feels like it's drying out a bit, but this is a color that I did use a lot. Not recently, but so I don't think it's dry from being in the rack. I think it's just, it was getting dry the last time I used it. Aegean.
That's a nice color too. It's a very rich color. That's what it makes me think of. And it is, there's so many double-sided coloring books where it would be so nice to base with alcohol marker. And you can actually do that. And it's a sort of little tip, little hack that I learned from, oh my goodness, I don't want to get this wrong. I think it was Color Me Stress Free. But if I'm wrong on that, I'll put it on the screen. Future editing Connie here. Instead of putting it on the screen, I thought I'd put it in a little edit. It was Color Me Stress Free, but I also found a very old video from Color with Claire that showed the same thing. Both of them used clear gesso as a way of prepping pages so that alcohol marker wouldn't go through. And then it was Coloring with Kay who was using the golden satin glazing liquid to prep pages for water media. And I just sort of combined the two ideas, and I prepped some of my pages with the golden satin glazing liquid and found that alcohol markers also don't go through that. So maybe I'll do a little video about that in the future too. You can coat your page with, I think she used clear gesso, but I also figured out that you can use that satin glazing liquid. And I know Coloring with Kay has used, this is Cool Aqua by the way, Coloring with Kay has used that satin glazing liquid to prep pages for doing watercolor. And it's nice because unlike gesso, there's kind of no texture to it, right? Gesso, some have more, some have less, but there's always kind of that little bit gritty texture, which they're supposed to have. But the satin glazing liquid, which the purpose actually isn't for treating pages, it's for extending the drying time of acrylics. But it does work for treating pages. But I found out that you can use it like the gesso in that if you treat your page with the satin glazing liquid and let it dry, and then use alcohol markers, they don't go through. Because really what you're doing is you're putting almost like a layer, well, if it's for extending the drying time of acrylic paints, it's got kind of that plasticky, whatever it is, in it. So then if you prep your page, alcohol markers don't go through. So you're basically kind of coloring on plastic. It does make the alcohol markers a little streakier, and some of the colors kind of react a bit more strangely than they would. But if you're looking for a way to base with alcohol markers on double-sided pages, try it. If you have some of that satin glazing liquid, or like I say, even clear gesso, but that's going to be rougher and it's going to be harder on your nibs. But yeah, you should be able to then color with alcohol marker and not have it go through the page. So this is called Duck Egg. The Cool Aqua is a nice color. This Duck Egg is a nice color too. It's like that grayed out vintagey blue. I think there's a color in the Spectrum Noir alcohol markers, or a blending trio that's called Vintage Blue. That's what this reminds me of. So yeah, I really like this color. I do a lot of coloring, like I say, with the Pitt pens. It's easier on my hands. Colored pencils, pencil crayons. It's, well, for any of you that have done a lot of work with them, you get hand cramps, at least I do. So yeah, if I can have something that I can base with or color with, that's going to be, things are going to go faster and it's not as hard in my hands, then that's great. B138, this is Arctic Blue. It's a lighter blue, but it's a brighter color, if that makes sense. I don't know that I'd use this one for very many things.
do like China Blue, which is the next one. Again, it's more of a muted color, I think. I mean, it's rich and it's not pale. It's almost got a purpley hint to it, which makes me think I should have had it earlier in the color families. Oh, Connie. Oh, well. I mean, these cards are really for being able to put a color right up next to something else. So I guess I'm not using it to look for color families. Maybe I'm just trying to justify to myself why these aren't in a good order. I don't know. This is powder blue. It's a nice pale blue. I prefer this to the Arctic blue. And then we've got cloud blue. Did I skip one? Because that says cadet blue. Uh-oh. Oh no. I have them in a slightly different order than they are in my rack. Good thing I caught that. So that's cloud blue, but that's not what I'm looking for. I am looking for... That's blue denim. Where's cadet blue? There's cadet blue. Okay, so I'm gonna move these around. That should maybe go there, but that doesn't really fit there. I'm not sure why I have them in this order. Well, good thing I caught it. So this is cadet blue. This is another one of those kind of grayed out colors I really like. Yeah, I'm not sure why what was I using to make this the color order on here? I think it was the swatch chart from my Swatchbook. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Make sure. So this is denim blue. That's a nice color too. Again, kind of a grayed out blue. Yeah, those are nice colors. I'm looking at these things now thinking, oh my goodness, there's not a good color order going on here. I mean, yeah, I certainly could have done this much better. So that's 3 pages worth. I think I might call it quits for this video. So this is part 1, because I think this is long enough. And I think there's 3 more pages, or maybe 3.5 more pages. So that will have to be part 2 of the video. So thank you for sticking with if you're still here. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is enjoying their coloring. If you like what you're seeing, consider hitting the like button, subscribing to my channel, hitting the notification bell, leaving a comment, letting a friend know that you found a channel that you think they might like too. All of that helps my channel to grow. All right, well, until part 2 of the marker swatching, yeah, take care. I will see you then. Bye-bye.